whenever he put satisfaction, he was going mad. He was telling that Mick and Keith were writing shit and he couldn't stand the music they were doing.
No matter what anyone says, rock on.
Keith wrote the basics of satisfaction. He says in Clearwater, Florida, at night time he woke up with that, with the idea of satisfaction. Can't get no satisfaction. And then it became this classic fucking track,
Say hi to Brian. Brian is one of the writers of most of the things, right?
No, I'm not actually. Well, I'm not really a writer. We do write a lot of stuff together. It comes out under the Nankerfeld pseudonym, but Mick and Keith write more than any of us.
Mick and Keith are wonderful songwriters. I mean, they're just great. Extraordinary. I mean, I couldn't admire them more.
Writing the songs that you write, do you sometimes think that you have a special inspiration for the way that you...
Well, you better ask about writing songs. Address those questions to Mick and Keith, because they'll tell you more about it.
Oh, and talk to Keith and to Mick.
Oh, yeah.
These are the two that are supposed to be all the writing talent. You fellas get together and do most of the writing, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's a lot of it. Some of it.
Do you have a particular inspiration for some of your songs that seem to springboard them out?
Well, I don't know. Ask Keith. I don't really think so. No, it just happens.
The Rolling Stones' I Can't Get No Satisfaction stands tall as a beloved rock anthem, but there's a fascinating twist to its story involving Brian Jones, the band's original multi-talented member, who reportedly had some reservations about the song. Though the exact reasons remain somewhat unclear, several factors add layers to this intriguing tale of musical preferences.
Whenever he put satisfaction, he was going mad. He was telling that Mick and Keith were writing shit and he couldn't stand the music they were doing. He said, it's not the music I wanted to do. I made a group to do some blues and rock and roll and,
No matter what anyone says, rock on.
We were in Clearwater, Florida. Me and Brian picked up these two girls in the cocktail bar. Two cute girls. We went to bed with them. Strange thing was, the very same night, Keith wrote the basics of satisfaction. He says in Clearwater, Florida, at night time he woke up with that, with the idea of satisfaction. Can't get no satisfaction. And when he woke up in the morning and listened to it and all that, him and Mick thought it was a pretty okay song for an album.
Satisfaction, with its heavy influences from R&B and garage rock, might have seemed a departure from Jones's preferred sonic landscape. According to some reports, including anecdotes from Keith Richards, Jones wasn't a fan of the song, dismissing its riff as childish, and even poking fun by playing Popeye the Sailor Man during live performances.
And he said, look at this, it's vulgar, it's awful, it's out of tune, it's nothing.
As the band moved forward in 1965, Jones found himself increasingly at odds with the direction they were taking. While he leaned towards a bluesier sound, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards were steering the group towards a more aggressive rock vibe.
Mick and Keith are wonderful songwriters. I mean, they're just great. Extraordinary. I mean, I couldn't admire them more. They tended to write more about sex. So from 64, 84, like for 20 years, they were just turning them out. I mean, they're classic rock and roll songs. I'd rate it as extraordinary.
Despite the song's chart-topping success in the UK and the US, Jones harbored resentment towards it. His disdain was evident when, during live renditions, he'd often veer into I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Part of his aversion stemmed from it not aligning with the blues, a genre he cherished, but also because it marked the first Stones single where he wasn't prominently featured. Although some sources suggest he contributed acoustic rhythm guitar, the general consensus is that Richards handled all guitar parts.
And then it became this classic fucking track, you know. They're going da 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 da, and I'm going doom doom da 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 da. So Brian just played the walking rhythm behind him, and it kind of worked.
Interestingly, conflicting accounts emerge regarding Jones' stance on releasing Satisfaction as a single. Producer Andrew Loog Oldham recalls a close vote where Jones surprisingly sided with releasing it.
See, the trouble was, by 1963, when Mick and Keith were writing songs and all that, Andrew was trying to promote Keith and kind of dismiss Brian, get Brian out of the way. And so what he did was he stopped me, Charlie and Brian from doing any interviews with any of the newspapers, any interviews at all, and gave them all to Mick and Keith.
He was playing guitar at home, but he was not really composing because I think he was not sure of himself. He wasn't sure that he was right. He wasn't sure that what he was doing was good. And he had nobody around to tell him to go on, to do it.
However, Richards and Jagger remember differently, with Richards expressing shock upon hearing it on the radio, oblivious to its release. This internal discord reflects the turbulent atmosphere within the band during that period. Jones, celebrated for his diverse musical interests, may have felt sidelined amidst the dominance of Jagger and Richards in the songwriting process. His perceived lack of creative input could have fueled his antipathy towards Satisfaction, especially since it emerged from a jam session between Jagger and Richards.
Mick ruled the roost as far as what they were going to play and the fact that he could write music and Brian couldn't. I think there may have been a little jealousy there. The fact that Mick and Keith were so close.
I feel alright. I feel alright, children.
I think they were a little bit lost until Andrew came along, and then Andrew kind of laid down the law and said what he wanted to do, which was all very well. And I thought that was a good idea to have a manager, but I don't think Brian realised that he would be handing everything over to him.
We wanted to do a blues, and everybody said, don't do it, because you'll destroy your career. No one's ever done a blues record for a single in England. Well, when we did Little Red Rooster, they said, you're going to kill yourself. It came out on the Friday, and on the Monday it was number one. And Brian, it's Brian with the slide.
They had two different ideas of what they wanted to do. Brian loved Howlin' Wolf and he wanted to stay as a blue group. Andrew wanted them to be pop. I think Andrew and Brian just didn't hit it off, and I think they just got into loggerhead. Pop sold, and obviously Andrew wanted to make money.
See, he's doing it.
I am the little red rooster.
What is anybody else doing?
Despite Jones's outward expressions of disapproval, there's ambiguity surrounding his true feelings, with no definitive statement directly conveying his hatred for the song. Additionally, the song's themes of frustration and dissatisfaction might have uncomfortably mirrored Jones's personal struggles with substance abuse and mental health issues during that time.
The trouble with Brian was he wasn't very well a lot of the time, so he was often ill. He'd be on tour and he'd get sick, and he'd be in hospital for 5 days, and we had to play without him. Just the four of us, bass drum, guitar. And you're playing all them songs that need more than one guitar, and you've only got one guitar. So I had to double up on the bass playing and help Keith out, you know, and Keith had to play a bit more than he would normally play, playing partly rhythm, partly lead. It was tough, you know.
They were all a little weary, I think, of Brian, because he could be kind of moody. But I think they put that on him because he was supposed to be the leader and he was no longer the leader.
Dear Melinda, Mick is the head of the group. At one time I was, but Mick took over. Don't ask me why.
The narrative surrounding Jones' sentiments towards satisfaction remains convoluted. While some, like Richards, insist on his disdain, others, such as Mick Jagger, recall no strong objections. Regardless of Jones' personal feelings, satisfaction undeniably propelled the Rolling Stones to new heights, solidifying their place as rock legends. Its enduring popularity serves as a testament to the band's lasting impact, even amidst the complexities of individual preferences and relationships within the group.
Oh, everybody went through their star trip, you know, and I think Brian was the only one that it changed in a really deep way, and probably not for the better. It was very difficult for him, you know, and not made any easier probably by the rest of us, you know, because nobody had the time to look after somebody else. If one of them isn't quite strong enough to deal with that situation, there's very little you can do to help him.
I understand Brian because I think he was a lost person.
To be a pop star, I enjoy it, with reservations, but I'm not really sort of satisfied, either artistically or personally.
You know, when I think about it with Brian, when we were slogging away with no recognition, just doing what we're doing, you know, and quite enjoying it, but with no great ambitions or anything, he was a great guy.
Let's face it, the future as a Rolling Stone is very uncertain.
While the true reasons behind Brian Jones' aversion to satisfaction may never be fully elucidated, exploring the various factors at play provides insight into his dynamic with the song and his role within the band's history. Thanks for watching. Until then, rock on and keep it rolling.
Don't get angry with me.
He don't know if it's right or wrong. Maybe he should tell someone. He's not sure just what it was, or if it's against the law. Something